Good morning. This is Carrie Freeman. You have landed at my left ear. It is April 6th, and this is video 32. It is called the 9 minutes, so you might gather that that's serious. If you read my community page, you'll know that I made a video yesterday, and I made a big blunder at the end of the video, which is I played a song. I played the Beach Boys, Wouldn't It Be Nice, not thinking about music copyright. So it wouldn't download. I tried twice. It was only about 20 minutes long. And then I went, oh, there's music, there's lyrics. And so I just eliminated it. I didn't know how to edit out the end, so I just eliminated it. And I'm reshooting the video today. So pretty stupid of me, and I think that's what happened. Saturday was my 6-month anniversary on YouTube. It was kind of exciting. I reached the 6-month mark, and I've got over 4,200 subscribers, and it's growing. I want it to grow faster, but thank you, and please tell your friends and hit subscribe. So now you know about Wouldn't It Be Nice. On this site, I do psychic commentary, and it is left-leaning. So if you're right-leaning, you won't like this site, and it is for entertainment purposes only. I consider myself a change agent, and I do psychic coaching, and I've done therapeutic hypnosis for 18, 20 years. I've lost count. And I coach creative things like writing and performance. And my email is below if you have any questions. I have a one sheet that describes my work, and I can email it to you. All right, deep breath. I'm gonna start with the trial regarding the death of George Floyd that I call the 9-minute knee. And it's a painful title. And the jury is sitting through that video more than once. And most of us saw video of a man dying in real time on the street, walking into a store and being okay and coming out and getting asphyxiated by a policeman. And that's what it looks like to me, Derek Chauvin. Now, a lot of people I've expressed on Twitter that they're so afraid he's going to get acquitted. I was surprised, but there are people that are afraid. And so my left ear wants you to know that he will not be acquitted. This man will not be acquitted. Rest assured. If he is, I'll shut down my YouTube channel. Now, here's the thing. If, and this is such a huge if he was acquitted, first of all, there would be riots. And second of all, he would have to go into the witness protection program immediately, because there would be a mark on him for his 9-minute knee. So I'm not going to stay on this. I will tell you that when the defense comes in, they're going to emphasize George Floyd's drug use. Already, toxicology said there wasn't enough in his system to cause death. But they'll emphasize that, and then they'll just emphasize how many years Chauvin has been, it's just like chauvinistic, right? Chauvin has been a policeman, blah, blah, blah. It's going to be a weak defense, but there you go. Now, in terms of the John Lewis for the People Act, which is to prevent voter suppression, that passed in Congress and is going to show up in the Senate. I want to say a few things, and I actually threw runes on this subject that I'm going to share with you. It's too lengthy, and it's just too lengthy to do the runes. You would get bored, so I do them ahead of time, and I'll bring in this report. Let me just do the report. So this has to be written out. It's quite detailed. And what I do with the runes is I pick 3, and they tell me a story. They always tell me a progressive story. So I asked, what's going to happen in the Senate? It's called SI in the Senate. What's going to happen with SI in the Senate? Well, the first rune I pulled was the rune of initiation. And strangely, it's a rune of mystery, secrecy. So that tells me there are things that are hidden that we don't know about the talk on this voting act. There are powerful forces at play. What is achieved is not easy. This is what the runes are telling us. Now, we do know that, but it's confirming that. And unexpected gains are not unlikely. They're not guaranteed, but they're not unlikely. So this rune represents our deepest stratum of beingness. And I can go along with that, because if the free ability to vote is taken away from part of the population, then it goes to the deepest stratosphere of our being. That's how important this is. This is also considered a psychic death, and it's in my book of runes. I want to just put myself out there and say that I think the psychic death is the GOP. Now we're going to go on to the second rune that I picked, which is stand still. And I won't lie to you, it's a difficult rune. It's a rune of being alone, and it's just like a pole or an L, like that. That's what it looks like. And it does say, the winter of your spiritual life is upon you. You may be powerless. You may be asked to surrender a long cherished goal. Now, this is speaking to the Democrats. There is a hold. There is a freeze on progress. So now we're being told this isn't going to fly fast or right away. But it does say, advises, submit, be still. It's not over. I'm going to repeat that. It's not over. This is a big pause. It says the seed of the new is present in the shell of the old. Watch for signs of spring. So it's not over till it's over, but it does tell us about the difficulty and that there may be a freeze or a wait, okay? Now, I have heard that they're going to push this through in the summer. We'll see. The last rune is the only rune that is not reversed. Now, the other two were like in a negative position or an opposite, that's a better word to use, position. But this is the rune of strength, and it's in the upward position. Strength. It talks of termination and new beginnings. So termination of the draconian voting laws that have been implemented by Georgia and are trying to be implemented by other states. The old life has outgrown its form. This is the GOP. This is the GOP. The old life has outgrown its form. May involve a passage into darkness. We know this is ugly. But prepare for opportunity disguised as loss. So if there is a wait, in that wait is opportunity. But a bond is being severed. And I just think this whole reading speaks to the demise of the GOP, but not necessarily an easy pass for the Voting Act. It is a rune of principles. And isn't this whole fight about the voting, about principles? My God. I still feel Mitch is going to vacate his position, and there are going to be a few GOP senators that are going to resign, get indicted, arrested, and that's going to shift things. And Joe Manchin will not have as much power. So stay tuned. The Voting Act, SI, there may be a pause, there may be a hold, and then it looks like there's breakthrough, okay? Now we're going to go on to, they have this thing called the reconciliation process. Not that I completely understand it, but it does have to do with funds and I think taxes. And we're going on to infrastructure now, which is so crucial. And of course, that's enormous amounts of money. And if the Democrats want to come in and apply the reconciliation process, which is pretty complicated, and I'm not arrogant enough to try to explain it here. There's probably people out there that know more than I do, but it is a process about bypassing the GOP votes that can make this go through. What it appears is that Joe Biden is, playing nice, and he's going to really try to get the GOP on board, but he will plow through this if the GOP will not. The thing is about the infrastructure is that it's incredibly positive for the United States of America. It's unbelievably positive. It will put so many people to work. It will ignite so many businesses and industries, and then money will start being circulated, and then it will improve our infrastructure and make us stronger. There really isn't bad news about it. Only if the Democrats fight increasing the taxes for the rich to 28%. And by the way, previously they were 35%. So 28% that Joe Biden is suggesting and his team is very reasonable compared to the 35% to help pay for the infrastructure. I'm going to tell you the runes in a minute, but when Biden took a trip to go around the United States until an emergency happened, he first went to Pittsburgh because Pittsburgh has the most bridges of any state. So smart. And so he talked to the people of Pittsburgh about their bridges. So smart. Now they're doing this to create a real positive boon for the midterm elections. So the voters will go, wow, I got back to work under Biden. I got stimulus under Biden. I got extended unemployment under Biden, and my friends are going back to work, and wow, maybe I better vote for Biden. So this is the plan, Sam. Now we go on to the smarmy Matt Gaetz, the congressman who's in a scandal. You know what? I didn't tell you about I'm just looking over here. It's like, wait a minute. I need to tell you about the runes, and we have time for that. So the outcome, what we have here is protection is reversed. That's not necessarily great. It may involve people that are using you where you're unprotected. So there may be some very nefarious things going on in regard to this infrastructure idea. And Emily tells me that we may have to revisit this bill, even though it's incredibly important. After some time passes, when there's less resistance, we'll see. This is where they may use reconciliation because it's about money. The second rune is also reversed. It's the rune of growth. It's called Berkana, but it's in the opposite direction. So it says there's an interference with growth and that diligence is called for. We cannot give up on infrastructure clearly, and nobody will. Identify and examine the obstacles to the growth. Well, that's nothing. That's the GOP and Joe Manchin, who's a pretend Democrat, I think. There's a quote here, may be required to fertilize the ground again, but growth is assured. So here we go again. Neither of these two fights are easy by any stretch. But our last rune is in the upright position and is the rune of journey. And it has to do with communication, something that has two sides, right? We got the Democratic, we got the Republican, that eventually are united. Now, I don't see them as united, but united indicates it going through on some level, the infrastructure going through. But it says be patient, keep on removing and finessing the obstructions. There is an element of joy involved in this final rune. The end is in sight, but most likely a delay. All right, Sorry that I passed that up and I came back to it. Now we're going on to the smarmy Matt Gaetz scandal. Now, I think you probably know he's a congressman, and they're investigating him for trafficking a 17-year-old girl, maybe more, paying for sex in hotels with like sugar daddy girls, and taking ecstasy. Yeah, it's lovely. And showing pictures of naked young females on his phone to members of Congress who are now afraid that they're going to be asked about it. So this happened through a unknown tax collector named Greenberg in Florida, who is in jail. He came up on numerous charges, manufacturing false IDs for these young girls, sex trafficking, and then he violated bail. He's back in prison, awaiting a trial. But he's a good friend of Matt Gaetz. How do you like that? And they did a lot of partying together, and they shared females. And we're pretty sure that this Greenberg fella, who's about the same age as Matt Gaetz, will flip, or is flipping right now. If you just get quiet, you might even hear him. So Matt is screaming and yelling and blaming the Democrats and blaming Merrick Garland, which is really hysterical because this investigation began under William Barr, but he's saying it's Merrick Garland's fault. Listen, here's the thing. Matt Gaetz is not bright. Comes from a lot of money. His father helped him. His father bought him out on a DUI charge, but he's not bright. He's very similar to Trump, and he's taking the playbook and he's going out there saying, this is a hoax. It's not going to work for him. He is in trouble. He's going to be found guilty of some of these things. Others will be outed, pulled into the situation. Like I said, Dad can't help him. So there we go. What the last thing I wrote? He's got a low IQ, like 45. And then there was a rumor that I want to dispel that the former guy, 45, pre-pardoned Matt Gaetz when he got wind of this. But my left ear said, no, he did not do that. And lastly, and tragically, I'm going to talk about the incident at the Capitol when that lone driver, plowed into the north end and one officer got killed. And it is Officer William Billy Evans, and he was a 19-year veteran, liked by all. And if you look up his picture on Google, he's got the kindest, nicest, friendliest face I've ever seen on a cop. It's just, you can say, oh my God, this guy was a sweetheart. He was warm. And I just feel for his family, and I wanted to say that. I'm sure you do too. We're coming to the end, and I want to mention something helpful. And here it is. Everybody loses things, correct? Well, I lost something this week, and it took me like over 24 hours to recover it. But I learned something when I was in hypnotherapy training, and it serves me all the time. That when we lose things, misplace something, our subconscious is actually present at the moment we put that thing down, our keys or whatever it is. And so when we lose something, the opposite of what we should do is panic. We should literally breathe into it, relax, and start talking to your subconscious and say, okay, you know where it is, and I want you to walk me towards it. Show me a picture, give me a clue, and then you let it go. And I want you to know, 9 times out of 10, you find the object. I've been through it many, many times, and I could do a whole video on finding this thing last week because it's just great. I was getting messages from the universe and all kinds of stuff. Okay. It was just walk around, and then my eyes went boom, and there it was. So try that next time. Now we're at the quotes. There's no music today, playing it safe. And the quotes are just they're not following any real agenda. The first one is kind of funny. It is by Neil Simon, the playwright, the award-winning playwright. And here it is. It's, if no one ever took risks, Michelangelo would have painted the Sistine floor. And then is it Michelangelo or Michelangelo? I should have looked that up. If no one ever took risks, Michelangelo would have painted the Sistine floor. I remember the first time I read it, I just laughed and laughed and laughed. And then the second one is the philosopher Aristotle. He wrote, "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit." And I have to tell you, I deal with the word excellence a lot when I'm doing hypnotherapy, because I'm always kind of deleting the need to be perfect from my clients. And that would be pretty much all clients. All people have this issue with perfectionism. And I reinstall excellence because it's attainable. Excellence means you're doing your best. You're just doing your best with both your strengths and your weaknesses. So it's much better than perfection, and you don't suffer as much. Anyway, that's it. One of these days, maybe I'll sing. Now, there is an instrumental, and one wonderful subscriber gave me a copyright, and I'm going to look into it, and I'm going to think about using it. I just don't want to get kicked off again, so I didn't do it today. I want to say I'll see you soon. Make peace. Make memories. You take care. It was good seeing you.